Hello and thank you for watching my 248 tutorial. In the previous video we have taken a short break from coding and we have checked out this short presentation about our main game mechanics, about the numbering of our tiles, about moves up index and down index, about two elementary moves that we have in this game. It's all brilliant, but right now we have to make our game manager have some information about our rows and columns. Right now we just have this array that is called all tiles. It is true if we say that it already holds some information about our rows and columns, but what I chose to do is I want to create two lists. So after our array I will write private list of tile arrays. So this will be basically a list of our rows or a list of our columns, and I will call this one columns, and I will initialize it in the same line. I'll write new, and MonoDevelop will give me this tip, so I will pick that. So we have created this list that will hold tile arrays, and it will be called columns. And I will create another list that will be very similar. It will be called private. It will be also a list of tile arrays, and it will be called rows, and I will also initialize it in the same way, so it will be a new list of tile arrays, and I will put a semicolon in the end. So we have created two lists that will hold tile arrays, and one will hold our rows of tiles and another will hold our columns of tiles. There might be a clever way of populating these arrays, but I chose to select a not so clever way because our field is not that huge. So I can just manually populate these arrays. For example, for columns arrays I will write columns.add because this is the way that we interact with our lists. And here I will create a new tile array. Right in the moment of creation we can assign all the elements to our array. To do this I have to open and close these brackets, and here I can write all tiles, and I have to address a certain element in this array, so it will be an element 0, 0, and I have to put a comma between these two zeros, and then I have to put another comma right after this element, and I will next say all tiles, and then we have to again supply the indexes for this array. As you know, the first index in our all tiles array is an index of our row, and the second index is an index of our column. And because this is intended to be our first column, we have to have an index of column 0, but we will have different indexes of our rows. So this one will have an index of 1 and the second index will be 0. And I will go on populating this array, so this one will have indexes 2 and 0, so we have to maintain the second index of 0, 3 and 0, and I will put a semicolon in the end. So we have to maintain this second index from our all tiles array as 0, because we have to know that this is a column with number 0, and then I can just copy this long line of code, Ctrl C, and I will paste it 4 times, because we have 4 columns. And here I can just change the indexes, so this first had this 0 indexes in the end, and this one will have 1 index as a second index, so it is pretty easy, and 1, and this one will have the index of 2, this one will have the index of 2 also, 2 and 0 and 2, and our last column has an index of 3. There we go. And this way, by writing these 4 long lines, we have our list of columns fully populated, and the first one will be the first column, so this is the one that we have on the left in our scene, and this last column will be the one that we have on the right. And then I will do the same thing for rows. I don't think that you have to look at the whole process. I will just copy everything that I have for the columns, and I will hit Ctrl V, then I will change columns for rows in each line. But for rows we will have a different situation with our indexes. For rows we will just have to change places of these indexes, so right now this first index will be 0 and second will be 1, first index will be 0 and second will be 2, then first index will be 0 and the second index will be 3. And these diagonal elements, we don't have to change indexes because this one will still be 0, 0, this one will be 1, 1. So I'll just go on changing places of these indexes. So this might not be the most clever way of doing this, but we have just populated the lists that hold all our columns and all our rows. For each of the elements in this list, we have created a one-dimensional array of tiles that we have taken from our all tiles array, and we have assigned these indexes so that our columns and our rows are arranged in this proper way, so that we have our first column as the first element and our last column as our last element, and the same thing with rows. So thank you very much for watching, and in the next video we will finally get to writing our moving and merging mechanics for our 2 for 8 game. So thank you once again, and see you in the next video.